Henry Andrew Heck Thomas emerges as a tough lawman in the Wild West, arresting many notorious outlaws, including members associated with the Doolin Dalton gang. In August of 1896, Thomas was in charge of a team that chased and killed the criminal Bill Doolin. Born on January 3, 1850, in Athens, Georgia, Thomas was the child of Martha Ann Fullwood and Lovick Pierce Thomas. Raised and educated in Atlanta, he was nicknamed Heck at an early age. His parents aspired for him to become a Methodist minister, yet the spirited young boy held different aspirations. When the Civil War broke out, his father and two uncles quickly enlisted, each earning honors in the Confederate Army. His father, eventually promoted to colonel, commanded the 35th Georgia Infantry, while his uncle served as colonel, leading the 16th Georgia Infantry. Another uncle, Edward Lloyd Thomas, took command of the 49th Georgia Infantry, eventually being promoted to brigadier general of the Thomas Brigade before the war reached its climax. At the age of 12, Heck contributed as a courier on the Virginia front. After the war ended, Heck's father became the first city marshal of Atlanta, and at the age of 17, Heck joined the police force. In 1871, he married his cousin, Isabel Gray, who came from a prominent Atlanta clerical family. During his tenure as Atlanta police officer, Heck performed his duties well, gaining recognition from the community. In 1875, Heck decided to move the family to Galveston, Texas, where he quickly landed a job as a railroad guard with the Texas Express Company. Tasked with guarding the Houston and Texas Central Railroad, this route is frequently far from train robberies. In 1878, the Sam Bass gang tried to commit a robbery on a train near Hutchins Station, located about 12 miles southeast of Dallas. In this incident, Thomas was injured. Although an inevitable gunfight ensues after the robbery, his foresight prevents the group from fleeing with any loot. Heck had a strategy of hiding cash in a dimly lit kitchen while storing packages of bait in a safe. By the time the outlaws discovered the ruse, the train was safe. He was then trusted to be promoted to Fort Worth detective for the company, and by 1879 he held the position of CEO. By 1885, Thomas decided to give up his job with the Texas Express to run for the vacant post of sheriff. Unfortunately, he loses, then finds a job at the Fort Worth Detectives Association. During this time, he hunted down the infamous bloodthirsty duo of Lee Gang, Jim and Pink Lee. This notorious gang of horse and cattle thieves ravaged Cook County, Texas, as well as the Chickasaw country, forcing both settlers and Native Americans to fend off. In May 1885, when U.S. Marshal James Guy assembled a team to pursue the gang, they unexpectedly fell into an ambush, resulting in the tragic deaths of 4 team members. Soon after, a large $7,000 reward was awarded for the capture of Jim and Pink Lee, making Heck Thomas more determined to pursue them. After 4 months of relentless searching, Thomas, along with the team led by Jim Taylor, located the Lee brothers in a hayfield near Dexter, Texas. Thomas gives them a chance to surrender, as is his usual approach, but the duo only respond with defiant gunshots. In the ensuing gunfight, both outlaws were killed, and the individuals responsible for their capture received well-deserved rewards. The next day's newspaper headline declared, "The Lee brothers, the most notorious desperados in Texas, finally go down with their boots on." After this daring feat, Thomas was appointed Deputy U.S. Marshal in 1886. Moving his family to Fort Smith, Arkansas, Heck began serving under the infamous Isaac Parker, known by the nickname the Hanging Judge. In the years that followed, Thomas built a reputation as one of the most productive delegates in the volatile Indian Territory. On his first trip out of Fort Smith, he successfully captured 9 murderers, 2 smugglers, a horse thief, and countless other dangerous criminals. This remarkable feat has become the norm for Heck, who often operates alone and will bring more outlaws to justice in the territory than any other marshal. Despite his flourishing career, his personal life faces challenges. Just 2 years after assuming the role of Deputy U.S. Marshal, Heck's wife, Isabel Thomas, became wary of border life and her husband's prolonged absence. As a result, she began divorce proceedings and returned to Georgia with their 5 children. In 1888, while recovering from mission-related injuries in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Thomas came across a young schoolgirl and a preacher's daughter named Maddie Mowbray. A year later, in October 1889, the couple married in Arkansas City, Kansas, and Heck began a new life with this family. In 1891, Thomas joined forces with 2 deputy U.S. Marshals, Chris Madsen and Bill Tillman, in a joint effort to catch some of the most notorious criminals of the time. The trio quickly gained the nickname Three Guardsmen and played an important role in establishing law and order in the Indian Territory. In 1892, Thomas and Madsen pursued the Dalton Gang, whose reign of terror enveloped the Indian Territory through a series of daring train robberies. On October 5, 1892, the Dalton Gang attempted to rob 2 banks in Coffeyville, Kansas simultaneously, hoping to steal enough money to give up a life of crime and seek refuge in South America. For Heck, the pursuit of the Daltons had an irony because Bob and Grat Dalton served as deputy U.S. Marshals just like him. Furthermore, he worked closely with their late brother, Frank Dalton, who died in the line of duty. However, his past ties to the Dalton family didn't stop him from pursuing. In fact, it was Emmett Dalton who later declared Heck Thomas their archenemy. After the Dalton Gang train robbery in Adair, Oklahoma, in July of 1892, Thomas quickly followed their trail and located their position in Osage Country. Continuing to track down the outlaws, he also reached their campsite, about 20 miles south of Coffeyville. As he continued his pursuit, news reached him that 4 members of the Dalton Gang, including Bob and Grat, had died in Coffeyville. The sole survivor, Emmett Dalton, was wounded. Quickly, Heck reached Coffeyville and identified the bodies for the Wells Fargo Company. In 1893, the 3 guardsmen received the task of establishing order for the emerging settlement of Perry, Oklahoma. Quickly earning the infamous nickname Hell's Half Acre, Perry became home to 25,000 people and over 100 saloons. With the influx of people, lawlessness and unrest and chaos have become common in this growing city. Operating in the area is the infamous Doolin Gang, whom the 3 guardsmen are determined to capture. Over the course of 4 years, the Doolin Gang committed train and bank robberies throughout Kansas, the Indian Territory, and Texas. Finally, in August 1896, Thomas led a group that caught up with Bill Doolin. Faced with capture, the outlaw made a futile attempt to shoot his way out, but was ultimately met with fatal consequences. While serving in the Indian Territory, Thomas accomplished the remarkable feat of capturing over 300 wanted individuals, an extremely dangerous mission that claimed the lives of 15 other officers in the territory. As a deputy U.S. Marshal, Heck is known for his relentless pursuit of the most dangerous outlaws, motivated by the allure of higher rewards. Despite his success in tracking down these outlaws and reaping the financial benefits, he also paid a heavy price, being wounded in no less than 8 gunfights. In 1902, Thomas moved to Lawton, Oklahoma, where he was elected the town's first sheriff. He served for 7 years until his health began to decline. Thomas then assembled a team, chasing and apprehending the bank robbers in the 1908 silent film The Bank Robbery. However, a heart attack in 1909 forced him to retire at the age of 59, putting an end to his long law enforcement career. 3 years later, on August 15, 1912, he died of Bright's disease. Henry Andrew Heck Thomas's final resting place is located at Highland Cemetery in Lawton, Oklahoma.
Please like and share if you find the video content interesting and useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below so as not to miss the upcoming interesting videos. Thanks for watching.